Hello, Devlin here with you, and welcome to the Devlin Bishop Show. And although you'd think that would be conceited, saying the Devlin Bishop Show and your Devlin Bishop, I don't get that feeling. It seems natural to me. So does that make me conceited? And speaking of conceited, here's Corda, who loves being on camera.
Yay.
I am so thankful that you joined me on these journeys, and today is a non-guest one, so it's just you and me
Yay.
against the world. Oh, sorry. Speaking of you and me against the world, we're going through another lockdown here in Ontario. How have you been handling it? Is it just going like the old one, or is
Pretty
it just old
much.
hat?
It just kind of feels like every day's the same. They just kind of
Yeah,
run into each other. So,
yeah, I know. I literally just do things to make sure, like I know this is Saturday and this is
yeah.
Thursday. I'm always looking at the calendar, and well, I've got little stuff that I do every day, so that helps a lot. And I think it's important to have a schedule, because I think there are people that don't have schedules, and I think that plays with your mind and
Yeah.
your health a lot. It's important to have a routine, whether it's even just I do the dishes every day this day, or
Hmm.
time each day. It's funny how like people love luxury time, and then when you have a lot of it, you're like lost.
Yeah.
I'm not. I actually not really. And a lot of people think that I just watch a lot of movies and stuff, but I actually don't. I watch a lot of Dark Shadows, I'll tell you. Now that I've already moved into the color episodes, I know I'm watching, I think I've watched about 90 episodes in the last month and a half or something like that.
That's
So
cool.
that's a lot.
Yeah.
And thank God I have a lot more to go, because if it just ended in a little bit, and I'm not a binge watcher either, but this show is just easy to get through. And when I say that, I mean not easy to get through. If you don't like slow moving storylines, then this is definitely not your show, but it is mine. And yeah, I love Dark Shadows. And I remember posting something on Mondo Nostalgia, and I had somebody else saying, I'm watching that too. So it's nice to know I'm not the only person clicking on those,
Hmm.
because I watch it on a free streaming service called Tubi, and I'm always afraid. Tubi likes to put, 7 days until expired, and every day I like have that 1 second of nervous thinking it's going to, because the only other place I could watch it is, illegal stuff, or I could spend $500 on the DVD set. Now, when people say, why is it so much? Keep in mind, this was a daily soap opera that ran 5 days a week, and it's got every episode, and it's in a little coffin. And it's got like something like, I think it's 1,200 episodes.
Wow.
And so it's really good. And so,
I would
yeah,
think if they
I keep
cancel that,
hoping.
they should definitely, give you more time to adjust in a week. Like say, oh, by the way, we're turning it off. They should
They
say,
should give me $200 off the box set, because
oh, yeah.
I'd
I think
probably
they should at least
stupidly
give you
buy
a
it.
couple months' notice.
And I love this show for all its cheese, because it just has that I don't know, all that stuff, like, when a commercial comes on, it's like somebody looks at the camera and it's like bum bum bum, or the camera moves quickly to show somebody's reaction and it's blurry, because they didn't do too many takes, or when they're walking in the graveyard and you see the grass moving because it's just a rug. I love that kind of stuff, and I always
I'll have
joke
to
that I
watch,
think it's called dark. Pardon?
I'll have to watch one
Pardon?
sometime just to get an idea of what it's like.
Oh, and I think it's called Dark Shadows, is because half the time the camera or the microphones are coming in and it's casting shadows on the screen. I remember one really urgent scene, and they turn and move to this woman's face, and literally her whole face is in shadows, because it's like, and they're like, you can see the camera kind of moving to see her reaction. And I love that
That's
stuff.
hilarious.
And you got to remember, it's the main character, or at least eventually the main character. I actually started They say if you really want to get into it, is to start at episode 209 because that sets you up for Barnabas Collins. Barnabas Collins, who is the vampire, although I've watched 90 episodes or so and they've never said those words. But he's played by a Hamilton actor, Jonathan Freed, and he's just absolutely wonderful. And I apologize if I've talked about this before, but I just am so giddy about this show. And please, if you are watching this and you have watched Dark Shadows or are currently watching it, come on and we'll talk about it. It's great. I think it's absolutely phenomenal. And it's old school vampirism. So it's like, the bite in the neck and people wear scarves or turtlenecks. You're sick for a couple of days afterwards. You have to be in your grave by, 6 a.m. or whatever it is. The rooster always, you hear them and like, oh, I have to go to bed. They've gone weeks without wondering why they can't see Barnabas in the daylight, but he's always available for evening meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, it's funny. It's just funny. And I told Mike I hope I don't talk like them soon. Because sometimes Mike goes, how come it sounds like full episodes of them just repeating themselves until every commercial they say another line that moves the storyline by an inch. And I said, that's probably because it is. You'll see people and it'll be like, well, don't you think that's how he thinks? Does he? Like everything's a question on a question so they can get more out of the screenplay, like.
Is it one of those where they had like a full week, so 5 episodes, and there's like one plot point that they get to on Friday sort of thing?
Pretty much. They're pretty good. But like sometimes well, here's an example. Like at the beginning of the 1 week, and well, I don't know if it was the beginning of the week, but if on the 5 episodes, Barnabas decides to have a costume party, a housewarming party, but it's going to be costumes. The weird thing is, though, they have to dress like their ancestors, and he has all the old clothes that they're going to wear, and they're in good condition. So that would maybe be the first episode. The second episode is pretty much everybody saying, this is weird, I'm not going to this. And then a couple characters saying, no, I'm going to this, and I'm going to make sure you go to this. I'm not going to this, but you are going to this. But this party is so important to it. Is he? Is it? And then by the end, damn well they're going to agree to it. Yeah. Then you have the party. The party is just a bunch of people standing around talking about how weird it is being in clothes of the time. And then something might happen where they tell old stories that they've heard. And then at the end of that one, they decide, let's have a seance for no reason. Then one girl gets into a trance, then it comes to the next episode, and the girl continues in the trance. Then everybody talks about how they shouldn't have done the seance. And what did the seance mean? And then the ending of that just ends with basically everybody just saying, well, yeah, that was a stupid party and stuff. So the whole week is basically all about that. And then the next week oh, wow, here's a second story I forgot was happening. I honestly think there's only like 3 storylines that happen. And I think I'm being generous. And they're all entwined, but it's deliciously wonderful. And I just can't get enough. And I did not plan on talking about Dark Shadows so much. So that shows you the improv that goes on here. So check it out, Tubi. You can go online, and it's a free service. And there's commercials, but not that many. You might get one at the beginning and then one right in the middle of it. And it's not that bad at all. Good for a pee break or just a why am I watching this? Moment where you can think about it. I will remind you that most of the commercials are the same. So if you do binge watch, but they have a lot of great movies. Like they have tons of great weird movies and even some popular ones. So yeah, I get no money from this. Now, Barnabas Collins, of course, is an old vampire. And speaking of, well, you shouldn't say old vampires. I do want to give a shout out to Betty White.
That was not a good segue.
No, that was horrible, actually. I'm certainly not saying Betty White. Betty White is many things, but I'm not trying to say she's this drag vampire. But he turned this past Sunday, which was January
17.
17th.
Yep.
17th. Well, no, it would be 18th because people were watching this on Wednesday. Wait a minute. No, why am I changing her birthday to be like what I do with you? Anyhow, yes, her birthday was on January 17th, and this year she turned 99 years old. And you know what? When I hear people make it to 80, I think, holy mackerel. And what, but 99, and like I've seen interviews with her, she still looks phenomenal.
Yeah.
I think her secret is like just doing everything in moderation,
Hmm.
doing what you love, laughing a lot, not taking life too seriously. I'm sure she has her moments, but
Sure.
Betty White is just phenomenal. She, of course, most people remember her as the Golden Girls.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was all of them as the Golden Girls, from the Golden
They
Girls.
could do a
And
reunion, just her.
yeah, and I remember talking to Mike because we've always been fans of Golden Girls and how weird the Golden Girls is that it's survived so long. Well, think about it. If you go to a place like EB Games or any kind of like place that sells current pop culture, you see all these superhero stuff, video games, maybe anime, and then you'll see Golden Girls stuff. Like it's really unusual. It's not like you go and see, like you might see other pop culture stuff, but even stuff like I Love Lucy or Bewitched or Gilligan's Island, you'd maybe find that in a different kind of thing. But Golden Girls sits right up there with the Avengers and Batman, and it's so bizarre. And I'm so thankful for it. And, I've watched, like, I watch episodes pretty much all the time. And I like to pop one in every couple of weeks. And even for Betty's birthday, we actually watched a two-parter, which was really good. It was their best moments, and we actually are surprised that it hasn't been canceled because of so many episodes that are just wrong because of the girls speaking their mind.
Yeah.
We watched an episode with Blanche and her daughter gained a lot of weight, and the amount of fat shaming there was unbelievable, and that was all from the girls. And what made it worse was that the whole episode was about fat shaming and that they were offended when other people did it, but it was okay when they did it. But you know what? I am not offended by that, but I'm surprised that this show is still beloved, but it is well written and acted. Like Betty White is just one of the four, core women. You got B. Arthur, you've got oh my God, Rue McClanahan, and you've got Estelle Getty, and these four women just are all make up a beautiful piece of pie. And of course, Betty White, she was on a show with Life. I never watched it, that's why I didn't know. But this woman has had so many hit series. She had a show called Life with Elizabeth. I think that's what it was, way back in the 50s. And then she was on Mary Tyler Moore,
Oh,
which a lot of people of my age would remember that, where she played a supporting character. But if you remember, she played actually a mean-spirited, like manhunter. And people forget because when we think of Betty White, we think of Rose Nyland.
yes.
She was a real like, and she actually tried for the Blanche part on Golden Girls, and Blanche, Rue McClanahan tried out for the Rose part, and because Rue McClanahan kind of played a character like that on Mama's Family, and we've already seen Betty White, the producers actually said, why don't we switch it up and see what happens if we give Rue the sex pot and
Nice.
Betty the sweet girl from, you know, I forgot where she came from. What a fan am I?
I can't
You know,
remember
in the middle
either.
of the thing, I'm going to yell out, like, Saint Olaf. That's what it is. That damn snowman.
Yeah.
And you forget it. Olaf from Frozen.
Yeah.
But she brought so much to that character, and I think we all know a Rose Nyland in our world, that sweet, innocent, that sometimes says stuff without thinking, and And Betty, she also went on to go on to do Hot in Cleveland. She had a couple of reality shows, something with pets. Just a beautiful animal lover and just a great person. A little side note, she actually did nudie playing cards when she first started. I love that
That's
fact.
awesome.
Yeah, look it up. I should have put a picture up on her birthday, but I wanted to be respectful of her. And I really hope she makes it to 100. I hope she makes it to 130, for honest
Sure.
opinion. I'm blown away that anybody can make it into their 90s. And I know you have grandparents in your
Yep.
90s, so you must just be like, what do you think their secret is? Like,
I have no idea. I really don't know.
well, from what I know of your grandparents, I think they tend to do a lot of things that they love.
Yeah, that's true.
Like they walk to their own drummer
Hmm.
and they also care about people and will help them out at a drop of a hat. But at the end of the day, they are their own people. And that's what I think the secret is that these are people that not only give a damn about others, but they actually just do their own thing. Like your grandfather was going on roller coasters
Hmm.
into his 80s, wasn't
Oh
it, or
yeah,
something like that?
yeah, definitely.
And you know, they both love Disney, like
Yeah.
to the point where it's like, you know, like might need some psychiatric help involved in it. But hey, maybe Disney is the secret, you know? Maybe
Maybe
The Disney. The Disney is the
Disney.
secret. So anyhow, we know Betty White's watching right now. So
Hi,
you
Betty.
know, you're one of the 12 that watch us or whatever it is. And what is this? Like that's why I can't have cards in my hand because I will use them like a game show host. That is correct.
You'd be an
Um,
awesome game show host.
I have, here's a Devlin fun fact. I use these way too much. These are index cards, and I write, these are my post it notes, and I have them all over the house. And I will do anything. I'll leave notes for Mike on them. I will post things that I have to do on Mondo Nostalgia.
Yep.
I have tons of index cards. I love me a good index card.
Mhm.
And that's a worse segue from Betty White to index cards.
Yes, it is.
There was a big celebrity death that I think we're going to talk about because after celebrating Betty White making it to 99, it's weird to just talk about death.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about some movie trailers that dropped this week. I haven't done this yet. You'll never see me. I shouldn't say never, but you'll never see me react, even though I could probably get more hits reacting to stuff. But I don't know. To me, it doesn't seem real. Like it's just like ooh, ooh,
Yeah.
you know, and it's kind of silly. But I'm going to react not by watching them, but because I just watched them yesterday. Now, did you get a chance to watch
I
these?
did, yeah.
Okay, so we're going to start with the big one, which is Godzilla versus Kong or Kong versus
It's
Godzilla.
Godzilla versus Kong.
Okay. I didn't know who got top billing.
I think Godzilla.
I do remember that King got dropped from Kong because for some reason they just don't like using King Kong anymore, which I like. But maybe he isn't royalty.
Oh, maybe.
That's all I could take from it. Did the Buckingham Palace? What's with the adding the on everything today? The Buckingham Palace, the Disney, the index cards. That one actually works.
It does.
Anyhow. For people who don't know, this is part of the monster universe that they've been building. They had a Godzilla movie, then they had Kong Skull Island, and then they had Godzilla King of the Monsters. And now we're finally going to see Kong and Godzilla, or Godzilla versus Kong, fighting. Now, we have waited for this for a while because it was supposed to come out last year, and then the pandemic hit, and it got pushed and pushed and pushed. Now it was supposed to come out in May, and it was only going to go to theaters and streaming at the same time. But now they've decided to push it up to March. Well, they've been sitting on this, so why not move it up? I've seen all the movies now you haven't seen any of them.
I have not seen any of them. No.
Okay. I liked the first Godzilla.
Yeah.
The one from, I can't remember what year, but it starred Aaron Taylor Johnson and Bryan Cranston. And then I saw Kong Island, which I thought was okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was a little weird, but I do want to see it again. And I saw Godzilla King of the Monsters, which I will probably give a retrieve and watch it again, but I wasn't really sold on it. And I don't think anybody else was because it actually was considered a flop.
Okay.
But because Kong versus Godzilla was already in production, they couldn't exactly stop it. And you think Godzilla and Kong together should make a
If
big
anything
box
can succeed,
office?
it'll be that one. Yeah.
Yeah. But the problem is again, it's coming out in a pandemic, and you could be as hopeful as you want, but I think March is still probably a little soon to say movie theaters are going to be all open again.
Yeah.
So that means only certain areas. Right now, movies aren't playing in our area, so we're probably not going to get it. And I don't have HBO Max, so I'm not going to get it there. So this is going to be like Wonder Woman, and I'm going to have to wait to see it. But the trailer looked okay.
Mhm.
Um, it builds suspense, which is funny for a movie called Godzilla versus Kong. And I thought, so since it builds a little bit of suspense, it was good, but you know it's going to end with them fighting. So
Exactly.
the fact that they actually attempted to it, and maybe Heather, extra work, maybe you can put the links to the two trailers we're talking
Yeah,
about
I could
today.
probably do that.
I think. But for me, it's like I like that they attempted to build, like for anybody who clicks on it. What is this movie about? Is
Yeah.
this that indie film that takes place in the Little Women time? You know, I like that they attempted to build, and of course that is a lot of shadows of the monsters, close-ups of concerned faces, smoke. But overall, I thought the trailer was okay. But I'm at the point now, just let's see big things fight.
Yes.
Yeah. So, what did you think of the trailer since you got to see it?
It didn't. I mean, it wasn't really that impressive, but I haven't seen the other movies, so for me it was like, yeah, okay, there's Godzilla, there's Kong, they're gonna fight. This is,
Are,
there's not much
maybe
to
it's
say
a
about it.
maybe it's a surprise twist that it's a legal battle and they got a courtroom.
Now that would be impressive.
It's like Kramer versus Kramer. They use the verses, but it's going to be more of a.
Yeah.
Now, was there a reason you didn't go out to see the monster movies, or we just didn't invite you?
I don't think I never really thought about it. I think probably the first one I'm not a huge Godzilla fan, so you guys probably saw it sometime when I
Yeah.
wasn't available, and then I just never got around to watching it or the other ones. So I know my mom
As
and
I
dad
said,
love Skull Island, so
pardon?
I know my mom and dad love watching Skull Island. So
It's not a bad movie. It's got some problems, but overall, I was entertained by it. I just didn't like it as much as Godzilla, which is funny because a lot of people didn't like that Godzilla, and I think that showed when they made a sequel,
mhm.
and not as many people showed up for it, even though they boasted that we've got a lot of, like they basically showed you a lot of different other monsters that could show up in this universe.
Yeah,
I honestly think this will probably be the end of it. Like, first of all, I think in a pandemic, it can't make that much money.
no,
And I think now that we've seen the two biggest fight, is anybody really looking forward to Mothra?
yeah, exactly.
Like a giant moth, or
Yeah,
like just some of the other bizarre ones. Like I liked seeing them in
mhm.
the other movie, but I'm not just clamoring to always see big,
No,
monsters fight. And then what happens is that in these movies, and whether it's a Transformers movie, whether it's Pacific Rim, anything with big, they always have to have a human element in it.
yeah,
Like, and sometimes that human element doesn't work as well. And that's what I think the biggest problem with these things are. It would be very interesting because I personally don't know if I'd be interested in seeing, just like Godzilla, what he gets up to in a day. And then you see Kong, see what he
making his
gets up to in a
coffee.
day.
What?
And then they just see each other one day and say, that's an enemy. Let's fight. See, people make it sound like this is what they want. And I don't think that would make it compelling.
No,
But yet again, I kind of want to watch it now. I want to see like a documentary style of, like Godzilla puttering around. Let me know know where he's puttering around because he usually just stays under the water until some nuclear blast wakes him up. And then Kong just walks around hiding on an island where there's not many places to hide, but he does a great job of it.
Oh, okay.
And then they meet and they fight. Yeah. And then you don't have the human element that is
I think it should be a romance by the end. Enemies to lovers.
Yeah, well, the original Godzilla King Kong. Did you see that? The 60s one?
So long ago, I don't remember it.
Yeah, guys in rubber suits and stuff like that. Suddenly you wonder why they're the same size. Because in the original Godzilla, he's like knocking down Tokyo, and then the original King Kong, he's climbing up a building.
Yes.
So King Kong's big, but Godzilla should be able to just kind of flatten him like Godzilla versus Bambi. And if you don't know what Godzilla versus Bambi is, right after this show, you type that into YouTube and you watch that.
That one I love.
Literally, pardon?
Everyone loves Godzilla and Bambi. So.
Yes, and it literally will take like 1 minute of your time. It's that quick. So I'm not asking you to watch every Godzilla movie ever made. I have tried to watch a lot of Godzilla, and I enjoy them to a point. I like when, the old Japanese style, when they try psychic links and stuff to them, and I don't know what's going on, and it's just like, I like this. These are the two girls singing to Mothra or whatever, and and then they try to Americanize it, and it's like, yeah, we didn't know what they were doing, so we're gonna just make it a good-looking babe now. But anyhow, could do worse in this lockdown to watch some old, the original. I've actually seen, well, I like the original King Kong, and I like the Peter Jackson one. I have not seen the 70s one, but I own it, and I really should get to it. I just was blown away that they actually used a guy in a rubber suit, because the original King Kong way back in the 30s was all done by, little animation and stuff. And the Peter Jackson one is like, I think, screen capture with Andy Serkis, and it's a long movie, but I think it's a great movie.
Cool.
And a very romantic movie too. I think the King Kong and Naomi Watts relationship is really fleshed out nice, and
cool.
And of course Fay Wray is brilliant in the original as well. But maybe I should go and watch that King Kong from the 70s, and then and then there's tons of Godzilla movies. I recommend you actually putting through the subtitles and watching the original Japanese one, which I think is like, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. Gorjun, but anyhow. Before you watch the American version, where they just re-edited it and put Raymond Burr in there. Still a good movie, but just kind of odd because he just shows up and he doesn't really fit like he's in the movie, so. Anyhow, our next trailer we're going to talk about is one that really caught my eye. I've heard about it. This is a long trailer, which I'm surprised they showed so much, and yet I still don't know exactly what I'm getting, but I am invested, and it's Cherry. I don't know what platform it's coming on, so I don't think it's coming to theaters, but it stars Tom Holland, and I can't remember the girl that's in this, but I laughed because I recognized this girl. His love interest in the movie was all the way through it. And I kept saying, who is this young woman? Who is this young actress? And I was stubborn, and it's a long trailer. And by the end of the trailer, I figured out who it is. And it's no wonder, because I only knew her when she was a little girl. And she's all grown up now, and she looks like she's going to do an amazing job in this. She's the sister of Kendall Schmidt in Big Time Rush.
Oh. Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
If I'm wrong, yell at me in the comments, because that means you know how to use the comments. We'll take any comments we can get. And yeah, Tom Holland, this is what I got from it.
Okay.
He is a young man who doesn't have any focus in his life. He decides the military will help him. His girlfriend is not pleased. He comes back with PTSD. I always get that. Yeah. And then decides to take a life of crime.
Yeah, that
I'm
seems
not sure where Cherry comes in, but that is the title of the movie. And all I can say about this movie is it's a great trailer. I was surprised how long it was because they did show quite a lot. But I
mhm,
wonder if that's because it's a streaming movie and they want people to subscribe.
maybe.
What else I got out of this movie is that Tom Holland is going to have a career after Spider-Man.
Yes.
He looks amazing in this, and if he keeps picking something lighthearted like Spider-Man and then Uncharted and then does these serious films, I think he could have a very successful career.
Yeah.
What did you think of Cherry?
I want to see the movie, so I guess the trailer works well.
Yeah, and I've never heard I don't know what style of music was, but I would say more than heavy metal, death metal of Time in a Bottle by Jim Croce.
Oh, okay.
You know, and that's not Jim Croce's version. This is the version that's in this movie. I thought it was very effective, but by the end of it, they're actually screaming it like what I consider like a death metal. And
Yeah.
not that there's any metal people watching this, but I'm sure they're going to tell me if I got it wrong. But I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
In fact, I was kind of hoping this would be one that would come to the movie screens when I can actually go to them again.
Yeah.
Because I still miss going to the movies because
Mhm.
it was an event.
Yeah.
When I watch stuff now, like a movie, it's just like, okay,
Yeah.
I won't think about it, or, oh, yeah, I saw that movie.
Yeah.
Like when I watched that Chris Hemsworth movie, Extraction, it was the premiere, and I knew a friend who had Netflix, and we watched it together, and I liked the movie a lot. It
Mhm.
wasn't perfect, but I enjoyed it. But the next few days, I was just kind of like, oh, yeah, I saw that movie. Where if I saw it at the theater, it would probably have stayed with me. Now, I have seen movies that have not stayed with me. I've walked out of the theater and be like, did I see that? Um, but I tend to think about movies more.
Yeah.
Like when I come out of a theater, I sometimes, travel home with a friend and then we talk about the movie. If it
Yeah.
was really screwed up, we talk about it, or we wind up going for coffee or going back to one of our places. But now it's like you watch it and you might have a discussion with a friend online with it a bit, and then it just,
Yeah.
what am I going to watch later? Is there any more Dark Shadows episodes? And it's just suddenly you're like,
Yeah.
oh, something else is coming out next week. So I don't know. I just, it's fine. But Cherry looks like a good movie, and I look forward to it. And I've been waiting for Kong versus Godzilla versus Kong for since it was supposed to come out. So I really look forward to that.
Cool.
Anyhow, our final thing we're going to talk about here is a celebrity death. There has been a few celebrity deaths, but I don't want this show to be all about me talking about dead people.
Mhm.
So every once in a while, I have to mention a death that I think is important that we remember, even though I think a lot of deaths are important to remember. And if you want up to date on your celebrity deaths, go to Mondo Nostalgia because we put some of the, like, even the smallest people that, if they were in one movie that may have affected people, we like to share it. But I have to talk about the death of Phil Spector. And this is kind of a sad one because Phil Spector, sadly, when you say that name, most people remember that he spent his life in prison near the end of it because he shot a actress that I believe he was dating. Um, and he murdered her. He went through the trial and then he was in jail. And he had gotten a little crazy at times later in his life. And you have to acknowledge that because it is a part of who he is. But I want to focus mostly right now on what this man gave us. Now, Phil Spector is a producer. So when I say Phil Spector, offhand, do you know who Phil Spector is?
I just know he was in music. I don't know anything about him other than that.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with that, to know that. You may have heard of a singer named Ronnie Spector, who was his wife. She took his name, and that's why she has his name, but she had a very abusive relationship with him. But and he started going crazy. And I've always thought that a lot of geniuses do. Now, to think he's just in music is one thing, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when I actually let you know what he created, you will be shocked at probably how much music you have listened to that has been affected by Phil Spector.
Okay.
Now, he was the man who gave us what is called the wall of sound, which is actually something that inspired the Beatles and the Beach Boys and pretty much every group, which basically layered different sounds in order to do it. The song that is most known for kind of the origins of this is a little song by the Ronettes, Ronnie Spector, called Be My Baby. Now you think of that song, be my little baby. That is such a sweet, innocent song. But that song did so many layerings and stuff, and it became the basis of what became the wall of sound for Phil Spector. And the reason I think he's so important is because he changed the surface of music, of how it was. Now, I have clicked off, so if I'm not looking directly at you, I want to read you some of the songs that you probably listen to, whether it's going listen to an oldie station or just, music you put on or putting on a retro station. This is some of the titles that he was responsible for. Okay. So before he developed this wall of sound for the Ronettes, we're looking at songs that may not be as big. The Teddy Bears, To Know Him Is to Love Him. I may try to sing here. The Crystals, He's a Rebel.
Cool.
Uptown, also by the Crystals. He did a lot of work with the Crystals. The Crystals with their big hit, Then He Kissed Me, and the Do-Ron Ron. Yeah, and so he did a lot of that, and there's so much more. You can look into it. Yeah, just so much. Karina, Ray Peterson, Pretty Little Angel Eyes, Curtis Lee. But after the wall of sound was developed, as I said, people like the Beatles and the Beach Boys, it went on to inspire a lot of the stuff they would go on to do. Like Pet Sounds, which is one of the, the Beach Boys' biggest albums, and that of course inspired Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, a lot of the later Beatles stuff. So here's some other stuff that you may know after he created this wall of sound. Christmas, Baby Please Come Home by Darlene Love. The Ronettes, Baby I Love You. You've Lost That Loving Feeling by the Righteous Brothers. Unchained Melody by the Righteous Brothers. River Deep, Mountain High by Ike and Tina Turner. Proud Mary by the Checkmates. The Long and Winding Road. He produced the Let It Be album for the Beatles. Now, oddly, Paul McCartney wasn't a fan of some of the stuff he did for Let It Be. The other Beatles thought it was incredible. He also worked with John Lennon with Instant Karma. He worked on Happy Christmas, War Is Over. He produced that one that we hear every year. Yeah. My Sweet Lord, George Harrison. Imagine, the song Imagine by John Lennon. The album as well.
Wow.
And later in his career, we're talking Rock and Roll High School. Do you remember Rock and Roll Radio by the Ramones?
Wow.
And that is just some of the bigger songs that he worked on. But it's not just that. He defined an era, like he influenced an era, and people started changing the way their music sounded because of this producer. And it all comes because of Be My Baby. And then he eventually gradually took it further. So all the people that were inspired by him, and when you talk about inspiring the Beatles, who have inspired so many others, or the Beach Boys, or the Righteous Brothers. You know, it's unbelievable. And
Mhm.
so I didn't want Phil Spector's death to just get swept under the rug because of the fact that he offered so much to music.
Mhm.
Sadly, we remember him now. It's sadly like a case like Michael Jackson. He's got so much bad stuff that you have to acknowledge,
Yeah.
but you got to remember he also did so much for music and artists. So, you know, so I tapped a little bit on Phil Spector, and I hope now, like, I'm not saying forget that he killed a woman or forget the abuse that he did on women and other people. But what I am saying is that I think we also have to remember what he contributed it to the music world, and it was huge. And I just didn't want to not talk about him. I, were you shocked by some of the songs that you heard?
I didn't figure that things like Imagine would be in there and everything. That's pretty huge.
Yeah, like
Mhm.
Happy Christmas is a
Yeah.
song. And when I look at the albums he produced, I've already mentioned some of them, but I also see like Leonard Cohen album, Death of a Ladies Man, I see. I mentioned the, okay, he did produce a Yoko Ono album, but you know, I'm
Everyone
sure it
does.
was a very good Yoko Ono
I'm
album.
sure it
And
was.
of course, he did like Let It Be, he did George Harrison album. He did a John Lennon album. So yeah, he worked with a lot of people, and you know, and he also did some weird little things. I believe he's in an episode of Bewitched. I, I, I think I'm pretty sure he's made a cameo in Bewitched. I don't know what that stands out, but it just sounds like something Don would know.
It does.
So,
I'm not going to fact
and
check you on that, really.
yeah, and I believe he may have, I'm not up on this side of it, but he might have actually recorded some of his own music as well. So,
Oh,
but since that's not as memorable as some of the ones I just mentioned, I'm guessing
yeah.
it didn't do well. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, this week you're going to probably listen to music and say, hey, didn't we learn on the Devlin Bishop show that that was actually Phil Spector produced that? So, yeah. And I think sometimes we forget because we want to give all the rewards to the artists and the musicians. But in some cases, the producer is what brings all of it together.
Yeah.
And yes, you can get people that overproduce,
Mhm.
but then there's the people that just find that right sound. And yeah, the artist and the musicians get all the love at the end of the day, but we need to remember those producers. So
Yeah.
a little love going out to Phil Spector. Well, we're going to wrap things up now. Mondo Nostalgia's got some lots of great stuff happening. Check our Facebook because we have some watch parties coming up soon. I'm also looking for some other possibilities on how to interact with people because I think that's important. We should say that Memory Lane and Poets Corner is going to be taking a break. I'll say a break because I don't know how long.
Yeah.
Life lessons will continue. I'm going to try to do at least one a month because people have told me that they have been helpful.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to keep that. I'm just giving rest on a couple of other things, but other stuff is going to continue. This definitely is going to continue. And I've got some guests coming up, some that have already been on and some new ones. Um, and then we're going to also you know, continue trivia and Count Evula and all the other stuff you love here. That's all going to continue.
Mhm.
And hopefully some new stuff coming up too. And so your best way is to keep looking at the YouTube channel and keep looking at the Facebook channel, and then you will be pretty much everything. You can go to Instagram and Twitter, but we always forget that until we actually get people on it.
Yeah.
But if you subscribe to those, we promise to get you new content
Oh,
out on it.
sure. Just let us know you're there, and
Yeah, but we just tend to go where the people are, and we know people have been watching this, and we know people go to the Mondo Nostalgia Facebook page. So lots of good stuff to come. Anyhow, thank you, Corda, and thank you, all of you, for watching. I hope you guys all have a great day.